Today I want to show you why meditating is such a positive thing, especially when you completely clear the mind, instead of doing a visualization or instead of allowing your mind to wander. So today I'm just going to demonstrate what experience your inner body, your brain, everything in the cells in your body go through when you begin to meditate. So first I'm going to start with, this is you. Okay? This is you when you're clear. This is you when you're little, when you're a baby, when you don't have a lot of stuff that has been compounded on each other over and over again in regards to emotions. So, and this, which is a food coloring type substance, I'm going to actually demonstrate as if it's a negative emotion. So let's say, for example, that you are addicted to the emotion of, let's say, guilt. So as an example, they're showing now that every emotion you have is a chemical. So the emotion of guilt is a chemical that when you feel guilty, the chemical releases from the brain, goes through the central nervous system, and it fits into your cell like a key. So the chemical of guilt has a specific key shape that attaches to your cell, and when that cell has that specific shape to it, it shakes the cell, and then it activates that within the body. So for example, if you feel guilty, the feeling goes through the central nervous system, like I said, goes into the cell, and you get that feeling of guilt, which is a vibrational energy. Now, everything in the body can become addicted to these emotions. So as if we take a look at like Dr. Candace Pert, who wrote Molecules of Emotion, phenomenal book. If you get a chance, I highly recommend you read it. I really find myself that the more that I meditate and the more that I observe life, that this is what I'm experiencing to be truth. So for someone who is addicted to guilt, for example, the more they'll need guilt, and the more they'll need guilt, and the more they'll need it, because it's a chemical. It's like cocaine. It's their cocaine, guilt. So let's say, for example, that this is their mind when they're young. Something happens that maybe they have a mother who makes them feel guilty all the time and feel bad. So it starts with bad, that's not good for you, or bad, don't touch that. And then what happens after time is they eventually feel guilty about it instead of not understanding what their mother is saying. After time, the more that happens, the body feels guilty when they go to touch that substance that their mother said, no, that's bad about. So then what happens is that this food coloring, let's just use this as the chemical of guilt, every single time that they do something that makes them feel guilty, a drop of chemical goes into the body. So as we see, the water kind of turns into this, it's a translucent pinky color. And so then the more and the more they do it as they get older, the body needs more. And so then each and every time they create more and more experiences in life that cause more guilt. So then eventually what happens, let's say they're 22 and they have a lot of guilt that's been compounded into their cells, compounded into their body, into their stomach, which is a huge brain. It has more neurotransmitters than your actual brain, so that means more information. So eventually they're 22 up to 30, and they end up with this kind of pinky, almost red color, which means it's like dirty water, right? So it's like taking spring water and making it a sewage plant. So this is what ends up breaking down the body. This is what ends up breaking down the body to become older. The thoughts become busier in the brain, and eventually the clarity is no longer there, logic is no longer there, and people end up becoming depressed or whatever their emotion is that could be the byproduct of all these chemicals that continue to run through the central nervous system of the body. Now, let's say at 30 years old, they begin to meditate. So what happens when we meditate? Especially when we meditate on clarity, meaning we're not thinking anything. We are not emoting at all. So as thoughts, if by chance we're new to this, when thoughts go through our brain, we don't create the emotion behind that thought. So we just look at it like it's non-attachment. So say you, for example, get the thought, I killed the cat, or I forgot to feed the cat. Instead of when that thought comes up in the brain, instead of feeling bad that, oh my God, I forgot to feed the cat, which then is like, the cat's going to die, I killed the cat, which really you didn't. It's just how the brain tends to over-dramatize things, that instead what happens is that you look at it, the thought without emotion, as if it's not even your thought, as if it's a cloud in the sky, complete non-attachment. You're just observing a thought. So when this actually happens, when you begin to do this, this is what actually begins to happen. So this is when someone meditates. It actually begins to clear and clean the body of its dirty chemicals, of its sewage plant. And the more that you actually meditate, it actually thins out even more. So as you get older, the more you meditate, the clearer the mind becomes. You no longer find yourself as addicted to guilt. You no longer find yourself needing to create that experience, until eventually you're to the point where you can barely notice any chemicals or any pink, red food coloring in the body whatsoever. So this really is why I recommend that if you meditate, that you do, I mean, every meditation is going to help. It really is. So if you want to go on the journey of going through the babbling brook and seeing the gold, that's entirely up to you. But understand that those thoughts, that emotion is still getting created. So in that your meditation, you might be seeing the brook, you might be feeling how beautiful it is there, and what happens is you're creating an emotion that you become addicted to otherwise, of that needing of a good feeling. So for me, this would be someone who's down, and instead of doing this, where we're removing and clearing out that depression, that downness of the body, instead what you're doing is going and just putting more chemical in the body by making yourself instead think the opposite, which is, oh, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to imagine myself with this beautiful babbling brook. You're not actually clearing out and draining and re-energizing and cleaning out the system. What you're doing is you're layering just another chemical on top of that I'm feeling bad. So what you're doing is you're putting the feeling bad chemical away for a little while, and you're going to focus, I'm going to direct my mind over to the babbling brook to make myself feel happy, but this feeling bad chemical is still laying in the body. You're going to have to deal with it at some point. But that meditation where you completely go blank, you clear the mind, it actually cleans out the body. It's like a filter. It's like a Brita filter that takes out the chlorine. So it takes out the guilt. It cleans out the anger. It cleans out these chemicals and in the body that you would call negative, or people would judge as something that doesn't feel very good. So I just wanted to give a little demonstration today as to why I really feel that if you're meditating, I know it really is the most challenging of all the meditations, because visualization is so easy. You just go wherever you want to go, and you know, there's other types of meditations where you're very aware. But what I would recommend for you is to go through that challenge. Go make it. I know it's going to feel hard at first to be meditating where, oh, there's another thought. Oh God, I feel bad. Why did I have that thought? Blah, 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 blah. But when you begin to get to the point where you're observing those thoughts as if they're not yours, then these chemicals begin to clear out of the body. The emotions begin to clean themselves out. The body begins to filter all the crap out so much easier. So anyways, I just wanted to give a little demonstration today because I have had people ask me, why would I meditate on nothing instead when I can go and visualize?